Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky!
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Name the dog Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in paints?
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, is my man who loves a wasted Bill Murray cameo. It's Frank. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. Look, I work at Baskin Robbins. This is my uniform. These are normal clothes.
I didn't know you worked at Baskin Robbins. That's wild. Can you make me a cake?
Trust me, you don't want it.
Okay, great.
Haven't made cake since 1997.
Oh, wow, you were a young baker, if you really think about it. If you were making a cake
I was
in
a baking
97.
prodigy.
Good for you. Good for you. You gave that up?
I said was.
Okay. All right, great. Frank, how are you today? What are you drinking?
I am doing well, my friend. I am drinking a Sam Adams Alpine Lager. You just had this recently, didn't you?
It's very good. Yeah, the Alpine is great.
And
no,
this
I
has
had,
only been
I had
around
a porch rocker, but
Oh, you had a porch rocker.
I had it.
Or Cold Snap, even.
I don't remember, truthfully.
I don't know.
It was a long time ago. But it was... but Alpine is great, though. It's really solidly good.
Am I right in remembering that this has only been around for a couple of years now,
That
the
is
Alpine
correct.
Lager?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is the second year?
Yeah, I don't think it's been around second year. Sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the second or third year at most. But it's a good one. It is a really nice one. It's golden, hazy and golden unfiltered lager. And I enjoy it quite a bit. So here's to the mountains. Alpine Lager. What are you drinking?
Cheers. I'm drinking something interesting and different from our normal takedown. I'm drinking a Hoplark. It's craft brewed with mosaic hops. It's got a pine forward hop experience, as so it's called, and it's a sparkling water. It is not a beer.
Oh, hop water. Okay.
Yep. It is hop water. At Hoplark, we believe audacious flavors hide in actual plants. Yeah, it's clean, simple, and damn refreshing, it says. Audacious flavor, actual plants. I got it kind of on a lark. Haha. Just to try it because I actually have a drink sitting here, but I was thirsty, so I wanted this instead. It's really good. And if you handed this to me and didn't tell me it was water, I would just assume it was a really light IPA.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
Yeah, or maybe like a lager with like a hop, but a kind of a bite to it.
I see.
It's pretty wild. I was surprised, and it's refreshing. Like, it's really good.
Can you say the full name of that again?
A Hoplark sparkling water.
Okay.
Craft brewed with mosaic hops. This is they have a couple of different ones. This is their pine, kind of pine-ish flavored.
I see.
One. I can't remember what the other two were. There were two other ones at the store, but I was interested in the pine one because I just like one that to me feels kind of like more of like an IPA. There's kind of like this always like I'm like vaguely in a forest feeling whenever you drink one. And so yeah, it's really good. I recommend it. I mean, it's not a real beer, but I've said to you, maybe in private, maybe on the microphone, I can't remember, that I'm having a hard time drinking beer at night, like late in my house. If I'm out, whatever, I'm like moving around or whatever, but I'm just already sitting down at my desk. We're doing some podcasting. It just feels really heavy to me now. I would much rather have something hard or harder than a beer. You know, a glass of wine, you know, a whiskey, you know, or something like that. It's just much smoother and easier to go down than a beer that just ends up sitting in my stomach before I go to bed. So this was my compromise for the night.
There you go.
Yeah. But anyway.
Wow.
It's good.
That was the most. We are in our 30s, man.
No kidding, right? Yeah. No kidding. Oh, well, you're drinking a beer on Beer with Geeks. So
I am. But I've been with you lately, actually. I've been drinking a lot more spirits and wine rather than beer when I want to drink at night.
I would say we should rebrand, but the Beer with Geeks label is strong, and I do not want to change it.
We are too committed at this point. I wouldn't change it.
I still like beer.
It is.
Yeah.
I do. I still like beer. I still like Ant-Man too.
Ants. Yeah.
Ants. I still like ants. No, I've heard a lot of negativity about this movie, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which we both saw over release weekend. I've heard a lot of negativity about it. I get it, but I thought it was fun.
Me too. I
thought it was fun. It was not great. Like was it a great movie? No, I would not use the adjective great for it.
No,
but I had a lot of fun. Yeah. I had a you know, I don't know. I had a good time, and it was no worse than a lot of other movies that I've seen and enjoyed in my time. So like, yeah.
So here's my it was a clean 2 hours. I knew what everything was happening. Characters felt like themselves, and the actions they were supposed to take felt authentic to the ones that I know from the comics and the MCU. Like nothing felt out of place. The green screen was good, even though I saw one review said you could smell the green screen in the movie, which I thought was a great line, which is true.
That's very true.
But you know, like it's everywhere in the MCU, and sometimes it's like super noticeable, like Ragnarok, Love and Thunder, and other times, this was well done. Like it was good. Everybody delivered. Not everybody had everything to do. I thought that the Wasp was like kind of a backyard, like a backwards play, not a backwards player, but she was like a secondary character, even though her name is in the title.
Yes, I agree.
You know, but the way that I'm also looking at it is that the first Wasp, Michelle Pfeiffer, Janet Van Dyne,
true,
had a lot to do. And
that's right.
Like, and so in some ways, it still was Ant-Man the Wasp. It was just a different Wasp.
That's yeah. Honestly, it was both Ant-Men and both Wasps.
Yeah, actually, I felt like maybe they all, in some ways, had just about an equal amount to do.
Like I feel like Hank and Hope had an equal amount of time, more or less, and Janet she wasn't equal with Scott, but she had more than Hank did. So like, they kind of balances itself out. It was both Ant-Men and both Wasps.
Yeah.
I think that's I like that. Yeah. I like that very much.
And I without getting into spoilers first, or without going right into spoilers, I can understand why people felt that like the stakes were low. Because you were in the quantum realm through basically the entire movie. And so you were concerned about a universe that was not your own, right? And so like it was a lot of tell, don't show, like Kang the Conqueror conquered all these places, all these things. You don't really see any of that happening. He's like already done those dirty deeds.
Sure.
And so, but like, whatever, like, I'm also told that like the Emperor is bad for 3 Star Wars movies before I really see him. And even then, he's still just bad. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So, like, whatever.
I thought of Tron Legacy, where it's sort of like, oh, here's everything that happened since the last movie. That's it. Here's a montage. Here's a flashback montage of like, oh, here's how he turned into the villain.
Correct.
And that's sort of the same that happened here, right? Like looking through Janet's memory.
Yeah, and you know what? It's all whatever. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
So like I walked away before we get into spoilers, I walked away going, well, I enjoyed that. It's like a solid 3 out of 5. Like it is neither offensive for the most part, unless you're a MODOK fan, I guess. But like, it is neither like offensive nor is it terrible. Like if compared to anything comic book related that came out around this year, I'd say like it's Black Adam-esque in that it's simple, but it's better in that like I wasn't angry at any character interpretation and nothing contradicted itself in the movie or like anything remotely close to that. So it was good. Not that it was as good as the other Ant-Man movies, but I find them all to be just like they're movies. Like, and so like, again, they're just movies. The end.
I think I definitely, I don't mean this as mean as it's going to sound, but I actually can't think of a more accurate way to say it. I don't expect a whole lot from an Ant-Man movie. And maybe that's more about the character than it is about Peyton Reed or Paul Rudd or anybody else. Like I just don't expect a lot out of an Ant-Man movie. I expect it to be sort of connective tissue. And this was really good connective tissue.
Mm-hmm. I think sometimes the characters on screen are still only as strong as they are from their source materials.
I agree.
Like, there's just not tons of strong Ant-Man stories when he's not part of a larger connective thread. Like, right? He's just a supporting character. I'm sorry to say. But, and I think the MCU does a really good job at making him be a little bit more than a supporting character, which I thought would have been almost impossible.
Yes.
And so, like, I like the dynamic between everybody. I like their characters. I thought, like, Scott's great, Hope's good, Janet, Hank, Cassie, like, they're all good.
Yep.
And that's it. That's all. I'm not asking for much more than that. Villain was good, looked pretty, story made sense, some good jokes. The end.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. Like, yeah. Now, nothing is so perfect that it can't be criticized.
Of course. So do you want to get into spoilers now that we're?
Yeah, I think now's an appropriate time. Yeah. Although the first thing is not particularly spoilery, but I did feel like it was a lot. Like the green screen stuff really did. It really did get me at some points where I felt like I was just watching animated armies fighting each other or whatever towards the end of the movie, which I guess in every like big boss fight at the end of a Marvel movie, I sort of feel that way.
There's a big light in the sky and an animated army fights each other or whatever.
Yes, exactly. I feel like I noticed it more in this movie than I have in others. Like I felt the visually, I noticed it more. And it bothered me more than it has in others. But it really was, when I really break it down, again, it's kind of, it's just the same. It's just that it's the same. And I don't want to blame this movie for all of the Marvel Universe having that in common.
Sure. And I think that maybe where the bad reviews come from in some way. Like the bad part about there being so many reviews or so many movies, and like you're basically stacked up against the previous few that have come before and the ones that people really love, without taking into account like what builds to that type of place and environment. So like you can't make Captain America Winter Soldier without having Captain America and Avengers come first, right?
Yeah, that's right.
They build off of that story, and in some ways some of the other S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff, and that's great. You can't have Endgame without the entirety of the MCU coming before it. So like that's great, or Infinity War even. So like that's great that they're so good, but they're nothing without those other movies. And and then like the one that came previously to this was Wakanda Forever, which was like, this like entrenched in like real grief and hardship and like all these other things, and in a completely different world that people really took to, and all this different stuff. So it's an unfair comparison for Ant-Man, I guess, which is, also charged with setting up Phase 5 and, that always gets the setup movies always get slandered.
Always, every time.
Mm-hmm. Going all the way to Iron Man 2. Always.
Yes, always.
Yep. Oh, this just feels like setup for something else that's bigger. Like, it didn't to me. Like, I was expecting, like, it's pretty contained as a story goes. Like, like...
Yeah,
I can understand that Kang is a setup. But, but I didn't find it any more egregious than the entirety of Phase 1 and most of Phase 2 stories being about the Infinity Stones.
No, I agree.
You don't watch Guardians of the Galaxy going, oh, it's just a setup movie for the Infinity War. No, it's its own story with its own characters.
Our expectations haven't changed. Our expectations have been changed because we've already seen that. And really what we're talking about at a macro level is call it Phase 5, but it's Season 5 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We just get a couple of 2 to 3 hour episodes a year.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And now there's Disney Plus series too. But put that aside. We get a few installments a year, and so we're reviewing these movies like episodes of a show. And so when one episode of a show doesn't impress you, it's usually because of, you could say, oh, but it's connective, it's whatever. I'm sort of playing devil's advocate here, but you could say it leads to, you need to review the whole season as a whole before you can, that's sort of what we would be. You can't compare it from one episode to another. You're reviewing either an episode or you're reviewing the season, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yes.
And when someone's reviewing the episode, sometimes one episode sucks or is not as good as the others, but when taken as part of the whole, it's a lot better.
Correct. Which actually could go back to my Iron Man 2 example. That's a perfect example because on its own, people are like, oh, well, it just sets up S.H.I.E.L.D. and Black Widow and this and War Machine and all this stuff. But like in conjunction of the whole, like look what it gave the MCU. Yes. And also, I liked that movie. I like Justin Hammer. And my bird. I just want my bird. It's still fun at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if a franchise built on being one connective story connects its story. I'm sorry. Like, you just can't have it both ways. If you want them to be individualized, okay, that's fine. But like, if you want them to be connective, like, and you want one whole storytelling experience, it's never going to feel exactly like a complete story because it's always in its second act, moving to the next one. That's comic books. In a lot of ways, the MCU is really the ideal comic adaptation because it's just always moving to the next thing. It never actually settles down. And so individual characters can go away like a comic book. But that doesn't mean that the story ever stops because the world always churns something out, always turns. So, I don't know. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I think that's basically right.
Yeah. So, at the end of the day, I liked it. And to get into the spoiler side of things now, I think a lot of that landed on Jonathan Majors and Michelle Pfeiffer for me.
Yes.
I thought she was excellent. I was like, glad that she had so much to do because she was like technically joined the MCU a long time ago now. So it was really great to see her do her Michelle Pfeiffer thing. I haven't seen her in something in a while with substance.
Yeah, same.
Yep, and that was great. I just like every time she was on screen, I was like, gosh, she's so good. She's like really good. Even in this like green screen world where like she's just like doing her thing, like doesn't matter. She's great. I thought Michael Douglas was the best he's been in these 3 movies. Like he just like was enjoying himself. Like he looked like he was enjoying himself.
That's true. That's true. Have you watched the Kaminsky Method on Netflix at all?
No, but I hear he's great in it.
It's very I haven't watched all of it, but I really, really like it. And I was getting his character in that show. Like it's the same sort of confident, funny, like sort of cocky, but almost like, but it's cocky, but he doesn't care at the same time.
Yep.
So good. So good. Yeah.
I just found something that, like, extraordinarily gratifying about him rolling up at the end of the movie, at the final fight, in a giant duster with an army of ants. And he's like, these are my ants.
These are my ants.
Like, I loved that. That was great. Like, that's kind of what, like, it's so schlocky and so dumb. Like, it's kind of like they, you know, or like, no, them, like, you know, like the giant ant movie.
Yes.
Like, it's just like, whatever, man. He's just like this Wild West. Like,
yes.
It's almost like the guy that's like, I'll get the Comanche to fight for us. Like, don't worry. And then he shows up in the final hour and he's like, I nailed it.
Yes.
Here's the Westfold. Like, here are the Riders of Rohan coming down the mountain. Like, it's great. Like, they just totally go for it. And I like that. But to go back to the Michelle Pfeiffer point, I thought that she and Jonathan Majors as Kang, like, just kind of, not that any of these actors are bad by any stretch of the imagination, but you can tell, like, there's a real weight to Jonathan Majors and Michelle Pfeiffer because of the material that they are given.
Yeah.
Like, obviously Michael Douglas could also do that if the material was there for him. But I watched this movie and I was like, okay, we're going to get a lot of Kang, and I'm good for it because I was good for it in Loki. And now we're back here with a different variant of Kang, the more traditional Kang the Conqueror, and he was great. He was very good. Looked like Kang, acted like Kang, smelled like Kang, whatever. It was good. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. It was good to see him again after such a long time since Loki. It was good to see him again at really get to step into this version of Kang, and playing against someone like Michelle Pfeiffer. It really, like, they had really good on-screen chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
They were really good scene partners.
Yep.
And it was just very, very, it was very, very cool to watch.
There was a lot unsaid in their relationship, and I think that's what I appreciated. It wasn't just actors and lines. Like, they had at least talked about the feelings that they would have had for one another in these moments with, you know, each other. I thought that was very cool. Like,
yes.
And that was, and that's, I wasn't expecting it. It's, you know, because I didn't really know anything about the movie going into it, and so I was just kind of hoping for a good time, and that's what it gave me, with some fun surprises. It gave, you know, you got one last heist type thing with Scott, you know, which I liked that duplicate, seeing a bunch of versions of himself, whatever. But like, it's like the colony of ants working with each other by the time they get there. Like, but it never ever it never really says that in the movie, which I liked. It just,
but it doesn't need to, right? Like, no, I mean, the visuals are pretty striking.
I agree. But that's what I like about it, because like, there are some MCU movies I feel like it would tell you this is what we're doing.
Yes, and I really appreciated that they didn't. Like, that they trusted us enough to sort of like lay it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you don't need to say it.
Yeah, he's Ant-Man, everyone. Yeah. He's doing an ant thing. Yeah, I like that. I liked Scott's relationship with his daughter. I liked Cassie very much in this. I thought Catherine Newton did a good job. And
she had a tough role to fill too, because it's very easy for that teenager role to be annoying, but she really, really nailed it.
Yeah, she's fun. Like, she I also like that it's that classic, like, no, this is fun what I'm doing, and like getting her to realize that it's serious business, you know, like, this is actually serious, because Scott also has to realize that at his point through the course of his story, right? Like, Captain America, like, I shake you warmly by the hand, or, you know, like, whatever. So, you know, I didn't go to the airport to fight Captain America. I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, there's some good stuff. The only thing about it, which I will say, is that, like, I don't have much to say about it, which is kind of weird. You know, like,
okay, yes.
It's not deep. There's nothing to pull apart. There's not a lot of ambiguity. It is just what it is. which is why I appreciate it also being 2 hours, because like it didn't overstay its welcome.
Yes.
It laid out what it wanted to lay out. It gave me a good resolve to the, Lang Pym families.
Yes.
In some way. Like if we see more of them, great. If we don't, whatever.
And same to Darren.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, we forgot about. We haven't talked about MODOK yet. I forgot about him. So I liked it personally. I liked that he came back. I liked that he was MODOK. I didn't need to see MODOK's butt. Whatever. That was unnecessary in my mind. But
yes, agreed.
Yeah. I can't unsee MODOK now that I've seen him. Like it's gonna look terrible yesterday. It just was so weird and gross and not gross and so but MODOK is gross. Like he's a giant floating head with tiny arms and legs. So that all kind of worked.
They're not tiny.
They're regular. What I didn't care for is the joke and his turn at the end. Like don't be a
You didn't like that?
No, it just truthfully, I thought the movie was doing a pretty good job at not being jokey the whole time, and like that like turned it turned actually like his actual feelings into a joke, like and that like apart from like his body being a joke, like it that like none of that really worked for me. His keep spoiling with the spoilers. His death worked for me. That was funny. Like, Hope, you changed your hair. Like, and, like things like
At
that.
At least I died an Avenger.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you're in.
Yeah. That was good. That all worked for me. But I guess if you're a MODOK fan, none of this is going to help you.
Well, no. I am not a big MODOK fan. I'm not a So it didn't bother me, but I could have done without the butt and but the joking and the what bothered me wasn't, it's never too late to not be a.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do you want me to press the button again? Yeah.
But it didn't bother me because it was too jokey. I felt like, they did a pretty good job of not being super like vulgar to where you wouldn't want to bring a kid to this movie. I'm a dad now. That's what I think about.
Mm-hmm.
That was the one thing about it. I was like, well, that's easy. Whatever. That's like, it's not of all the things they could say. That's not the worst. It was just up until then it felt like they needed to fill a quota of like there wasn't enough.
It was going to be PG until that.
Yeah, it's like how do we just bump it over the line into 13?
Yeah, that could be because it is pretty clean movie like through and through. Apart from that and seeing MODOK's butt, it's just like nothing really huge or major happens in it. I did appreciate that. I don't think Kang made one joke the entire movie. And so I actually appreciate that as like, as far as what I think is interesting is that like we talk about the MCU being kind of jokey or being lighthearted, and which is fine. I don't have a problem with any of that. But its villains do not most of the time act like that.
No,
like, and like
Christian Bale didn't.
Nope. Thanos didn't.
Nope.
Other Wanda didn't in Multiverse of Madness. Like there's some serious business, attached. And I don't mind jokes under pressure. People make, people. That's a good way to relieve some tension. Like when when you're under fire. So like I don't mind that in the story at all. And I think certain characters do lend themselves to it, like Scott and whatever else.
Exactly.
But like you didn't see Janet cracking jokes either. You know what I mean? So like I thought that, I thought that it was appropriate. Everybody was appropriate where they were. Let's talk the end credit scenes.
Yes, please.
So let's do the last one first. We get they're in the 1800s, and it's arguably maybe a scene from Loki season 2. It might have been filmed just for this. I feel like it's definitely just a scene from Loki season 2, though.
Even if it is filmed just for this, it was certainly filmed during Loki season 2.
Totally. Yep. In which they are on the hunt for Kang. It's him and Owen Wilson. They see Kang from the 1800s. I can't remember the guy's name, but it's good. I actually kind of forgot Loki 2 was happening, so I was like, right, yes.
Yeah, same.
Good. Yes, good. I will watch you. Excellent. The first end credit scene was maybe the more interesting one. Where it's
one last thing about the Loki one.
Yeah.
Have we ever seen a TV series teased at the end of one of the films before?
I don't think so. That's a really good question. I don't think so.
I think that was a first in that regard. I think we've seen the other way around where it's like the series ends and you want to watch the film, but I don't know that we've actually seen a direct tease like that from the film to the TV. Anyway, that was it.
We also saw Kang will return at the end, and I don't know if that's ever happened.
Thanos will
return, maybe
I think
Infinity
so.
War, but I'm not positive. I can't remember, but yeah, Kang will return, which I thought was fun.
That was interesting. Yeah.
So speaking of Kang returning, so at the end of the movie, Kang the Conqueror gets sucked up into his own quantum engine multiverse traveler thingy. Like, I know people were like, "You killed Kang the Conqueror." I'm like, have you seen a comic book movie?
I know, honestly.
Like, you think he's dead? Really?
Come on.
Really? Oh my gosh.
Scott doesn't think he's dead.
Right. Yeah. Like, did I just screw everyone? Like, yeah. Like, no. Oh my gosh. Like, no. And if he is, oh well. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, pick one.
Yeah. So
I got a whole stadium full.
Yeah, so we saw 3 main Kangs talking to one another. One of them was Ramatut, I think.
Yes, Ramatut. I did a little bit of research on this.
Oh, what did you discover in your research?
So Ramatut is the one that you're wearing the ancient Egyptian headdress.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other Why don't you keep walking through what you were going to do? Because I'm going to use my one lookup to get back to where I was doing my research earlier today.
Okay, I can pull it up if you want, because I got it right here. It's Immortus, the Scarlet Centurion, and Ramatut.
Yes.
And so they're all different Kang variants, and so
Immortus is like the leader of the Council of Kangs in comic lore. Now, Scarlet Centurion, it's not confirmed that that's who we saw there. Scarlet Centurion and Immortus, I guess, have a history, so it would make sense that that's Scarlet Centurion, but it doesn't really look like Scarlet Centurion in any real way.
No, Scarlet Centurion actually based his look off of Doctor Doom, so I wonder if, so I want to avoid people going, this is what Doctor Doom is going to look like. I wonder if we just skip that completely.
Sure.
It could also be a version, the direct says it could also be a version of Prime Kang from the far future, and not whatever one we just said.
Scarlet Centurion.
Yeah.
I've seen that. I've seen that thrown around to Prime Kang being the Kang that we know. And then in Loki we saw He Who Remains.
Yep. That's right.
And there is speculation that that the Kang we saw in this film could be the He Who Remains years before we saw him in Loki.
I don't think so, because in Loki, the He Who Remains talked about how one of the Kangs was exiled, like one of his family was exiled, and they referred to this one as the Exile.
But he also said that another one of me will come along, and this will all repeat itself.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I wonder if this is the repetition happening.
Oh, I see. So we have 2 versions of Thanos. We had like the one that gets killed by Thor, and then the past one. By the end of that, you get a different version of Kang the Conqueror.
Because at the end of Loki, they did like save the timeline, right? And and it was no longer the one pure timeline. It branched off.
Right.
And he said that if it branches off again, that's what's going to happen, is that this will all happen again.
I see.
Every reality, I do this. So I feel like this is
that
reality's version of that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we are going to get another Kang the Conqueror, which is great. I'm on board. Great armor. I'm very much looking forward. Great costume. Very much looking forward to seeing it again. So anyway, it's them talking and then blah blah blah, and they're like, "Who'd you call?" Everybody, and you get the Council of Kang at the end. So every Kang that has ever existed and will ever exist is part of this council. Right at the end.
And this is right off the page, like literally,
totally
right
off the page. Yeah, I was here for it, but the first thought that I had truly was, "There's a Fantastic Four movie coming. I could be getting a Council of Kang versus the Council of Reed Richards, because he also does that." Like, right? Yeah, that's where I got really excited, because Reed Richards also talks to all of his different versions of his self at different points in the comics, and they have their own Council of Reeds. So the Council of Reeds and the Council of Kang, if you watch Rick and Morty, where there's the Council of Rick, okay, that's where this comes from. The Council of Ricks comes from this joke, from the Council of Reed and Kang. Yeah, so that's what they're playing off of. So I am very on board for all of that.
I love that.
Yep.
I love that. Before we go, I caught one Easter egg. So when they're going to cross the bridge in the quantum realm, and they need the code to get across, and the William Jackson Harper character, whose name I don't remember, but the character who can read people's minds.
Yep.
He gets the code off of the robot soldier, right? It's 18147, and I was like, that sounds like it's got to be. That's sounds
a Star
awfully
Wars
specific.
reference, right?
It's not. It's a reference to what is it? Avengers 181, which is the first appearance of Scott Lang, and then Ant-Man Marvel Premiere number 47. Which is the first time that Scott took on the mantle of Ant-Man. So they smushed together two comic book issue numbers in that code.
Nice
his
catch.
first appearance and his first appearance as Ant-Man.
Nice. It's too specific of a number to not be something. So nice job.
Exactly. It sounded too specific to not be something.
That's cool. I like that very much. We actually didn't talk about the quantum realm people or whatever. Designs, the monsters, or characters. Like one of them looks like a giant amoeba, and I just loved that.
Yes.
We're broccoli
Do you have
head,
any holes?
and yeah. He's like, no, that's right. That's the right number. My favorite was Dev, but David Dismalkin played him, the little pink thing.
Yep.
I just thought he was great. I was on board from the beginning. They showed up, and I was like, yes, so fun. I'm here for all of them. It was great. That's it, though. Like I said, it was fun. Nothing to write home about. It's like middle of the road MCU. There are ones that I don't like. Maybe they're even better movies, but I like this one more than them. Guardians 2,
I think that's true
Iron
in some
Man 3,
cases. Yeah,
whatever. I'd watch this first over those. Just because it's fairly mindless. It's fun, and I enjoyed the villain. Like the end, I didn't need any more than that.
Yeah, right.
So not everything has to be Endgame.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would watch this before I would watch Eternals again.
Sure.
One frequent criticism is a forgettable villain. This did not have a forgettable villain. It definitely did not have that.
Nope, it did not. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's a movie. But
yep.
Frank, where can people find us?
You can find us at beerwithgeeks.com. You can find us at thoughtbubbleaudio.com. You can subscribe or rate and review the podcast anywhere that you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify, wherever that might be. Those ratings and reviews really do help us a lot, so please take a second to do that if you haven't already. And also, if you want to support us at patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio, that supports all the shows here at the Thought Bubble Audio Network.
Lovely. Frank, a pleasure to talk to you as always. So, until next time, cheers.
Cheers.